we're stuck with whatever, how many days that person's going to have to serve, and we're not being fully reimbursed by the federal government for this problem. That's correct.
Yes, sir, that's my understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Glover.
I want to make sure I understand this correctly. On this page, are you saying that the state of Arkansas has actually spent $1.8 million in regard to illegal aliens that have committed crimes in the state of Arkansas?
Yes, sir, that's at $52 a day, which is approximate cost to us.
So what it boils down to, as a result of us not having border control like we should, then we've had a lot of illegal immigrants that have crossed the border. And not only are we having to deal with them in regard to crimes that some of those people have committed on the people of Arkansas, it's costing the taxpayers $1.8 million. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess this gets back to the importance of someday, hopefully, we're going to have a better control as far as the borders are concerned. But I can see by this, and my gosh, this is just the state of Arkansas. We don't tell you what's costing the other states. So I just hope that we look into this, that we begin to see the magnitude of the problem that we're having in regard to illegal immigrants that's coming across the border. I guess that's my only comment, Mr. Chairman.
And that's per year, Senator Glover. That figure is per year.
Yeah. So that even makes it even worse.
And I agree, Representative Sumter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I guess, I don't want to be repetitive, but I may end up asking, if we don't ask this as a committee, of every person that testifies, but, short of stopping illegal immigration and getting the federal government to reimburse us, which are obviously two solutions to this problem, is there anything we can do to save money in this via state law?
Not that I'm aware of. We're charged with incarcerating those people that are sentenced to us by the court.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we might, as we have these folks testify, if we can't save this $1.8 million, every single one of these are going to show the implications and the bad things that happen when we have illegal immigration. But let's try to get to a bottom dollar, if it's okay with the sponsors, of what kind of fiscal impact we might actually have, and what kind of laws we might produce.
Well, I think we are working toward that, Representative Sumter. That's the purpose of these hearings. And I will say, to the point of what the presenters said earlier, as states around us continue to pass more rigid laws on illegal immigration, I think it's going to be incumbent upon us to address the issue quickly, because they're obviously going to flow here if they think they can get the services that they're not getting in those other states anymore. Your point is well taken, and hopefully we will have a figure from each of these agencies at the completion of these hearings, because everyone knows that we have a problem with illegal immigration in this state and in this country. But if we're going to have meetings and hearings and talk about it, we don't just need to have the problem exaggerated without any solutions. And I think it's going to be the charge of this committee to come up with some good, workable solutions based upon the information that we've gleaned here, to do what we can at the state level to conform with the federal regulations. And that's why I think, as we move toward whatever we decide, bringing in people like the Office of Homeland Security to tell us what they're doing that might filter down into our state level, that might affect our state Homeland Office of Security, to give us some regulations to work with, would be helpful as well. Senator Womack.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple questions. First one relates to the identification process. You have listed 158 undocumented immigrants that were in the system in 2006. Are we pretty confident that that catches all of them? Do we have a process to identify folks who come in as to their status?
Yes, like I say, what we do when we get one, we don't have any particular way to verify that ourselves, and we depend on INS, Immigration Naturalization Service, to identify those for us. That's why we advise them and Homeland Security of everyone that is a foreign-born individual. And we obviously send them people sometimes that are American citizens that were born on military bases in foreign countries. But we do send all foreign-borns, and then they determine whether or not they're documented or not.
Do we have any follow-up when their sentence is done and they're released? Do you release them directly to INS, Or do you release them out to the street and then call INS and say they're done?
No, sir. If INS files a detainer on them, then we hold them until they take custody of them. If they don't file a detainer on them, we really don't have any authority to hold them upon their parole or discharge.
I went to a meeting recently, one of these annual meetings where we had somebody from, I think it was the state of Alabama there, and then someone from INS, and they were co-presenting. And they talked about part of their memorandum of understanding that they had with this ID process was when they arrested somebody for a felony, they would go ahead and process them with INS from the standpoint of whatever the deportation process was, but they would stay in the state custody through the trial and through the sentencing if they were convicted through the duration of the sentence. But the fact that they had, as part of the memorandum of understanding, a process where those folks were processed in the INS system ahead of time made for a smooth transition when the sentence was done before the deportation began. Do we have anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of, although we do have some people that come in and already have a detainer through INS by the time we get them. But that's only the people that we see. I don't know of anybody, if they are in the situation you suggested there, with that they may have been deported before they ever got to us. I mean, that's a possibility.
Okay, and the guy from INS essentially said that they only deport if it's a felony. I mean, if someone's picked up for a misdemeanor or other offense, that they're not going to spend jail time if they didn't.
Yes, well, anybody that would come to us would be a felon.
And I think my other question is probably better for, do we have state police coming today?
We asked that question earlier. I think the staff is going to ask them to come at a future meeting. They're not going to be here today, but I've asked staff to ask them to come to our next meeting. Representative Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question on, this looks like this is only the people that are in the state facilities and not the county facilities. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct, even though on our list it would include those people that had already been sentenced to us but were on our county jail waiting list. But as far as people that are just sentenced to county time, it does not include those, no, sir.
So really the total cost to the state and county is going to be much greater than what this shows.
I would think so, yes, sir.
On the second page there, it shows 10 other counties that did get reimbursed to the tune of about $100,000. So if you do the math, they're probably have a lot more money too that they're being reimbursed.
I would assume that, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quickly, I think it's probably a good time that we mention, if you'll go backward in your booklet to the, where you're talking about Department of Corrections as the hard copy. You go back a couple pages back, you will see the Winrock Foundation in 2004 estimated, I think Representative Stewart, this is important for you and may answer your question, the total cost statewide for combined corrections, police, judiciary was $14,670,000. So the figure the Department of Corrections is testifying to is a part of that figure, and that was numbers back in 2004. So I think it stands to reason we're much higher than $14,670,000 today, because the agency just reported as of 2006 it was $1,860,690, and the Department of Corrections, and they probably had a lower number at that time. So we have a little bit of breakdown. It's under this cost to selected agencies summary that we just covered a few minutes ago by staff. So please refer back to that document as we go to each of these departments, because that is your summary. Thank you.
Representative Gaskell.
Yes, I wanted to ask you one quick question. When you have these people, 158 people incarcerated, do you have to hire someone that speaks Spanish?
We have run across an occasion where we need somebody that we generally have somebody on staff that can interpret.
But if you don't, then you have to come up with someone, don't you?
Yes, we haven't run across that situation, but you're correct.
Okey-doke. Thank you, sir.
Any further questions of Mr. Brewer by committee members? No, thank you. We ask that you remain, if you would, until the end of the hearing in case anyone else has any questions that might require an answer from your agency.
Yes.
We'll move now to the Department of Community Corrections.